So, you've uncovered your specialty, you've simplified your business, and now you're trying to scale. But you're running into that problem where all your clients are trying to haggle on price, because if you've done your positioning strategy correctly, you're very deliberately increasing your prices to attract a higher value client base. In this episode, I'm going to go through exactly why that's happening, how to get around it, what to do instead, and why this is actually a very good thing. This is the Brand Sprint Show with Bruce White, the podcast for thinkers, writers, and researchers to get the best practical advice on how to consult, how to sell, and how to deliver brand and strategy sprints right across your clients' business life cycles, because you can always add more value. Let's get into it. So the usual answer to the everybody wants to haggle problem is to say, well, you just got to qualify your clients better, right? And you just got to position your products better, because these are both things that a good positioning strategy is going to produce for you. But if you think about it some more, there's actually something a lot bigger going on here. If you're struggling with trying to level up your brand to sort of get to that higher value client base, if you're trying to build a premium brand and attract better clients, and if you're not perceived as expensive, then you're probably already leaving money on the table, right? Because how you price your services is also a big part of how you position your products. But, and this is a really important but, if we accept that you're going to be perceived as expensive, then no matter how much qualification you do on your incoming leads, you're still going to have to address that problem. Otherwise, even if you get the job, there's always this potential for a bad taste in the client's mouth if they think that you're expensive without justifying that extra expense, right? So if we accept that you sort of need to be perceived as expensive if you're positioning yourself as premium, as the premium option, and we accept that you have to address that problem in the client's mind, here's how you're going to do that. So first, you should never ever be talking to anyone in a sales environment unless they know what you do, they know how much you charge, and they meet your ideal client criteria. And that can easily be accomplished with that qualification process that we talked about before. It could be simply just calling out your ideal client on your website, right? Which would then repel those who don't see themselves in that description as a perfect fit. Or it could be something more in depth with some automation and some incoming client questionnaires and a follow-up process, all that sort of thing, right? Either way, you should be positioning your value to your ideal clients before you ever speak to them. And then you have to understand your unique value. You have to understand what makes you different than your competition, and that's absolutely a positioning question. But it goes deeper than that. You have to understand, and you have to be able to articulate how your difference is valuable to the client, right? Which is more value proposition territory than positioning. But that's also part of a positioning strategy, okay? Next, you have to understand who you're competing with, because you've got to know what your prospect is comparing you against. And trust me, these decisions are always comparative at some point in the process. So if you understand the value that you provide, and if you understand who you're being compared with, what we want to do is change the client's perception away from the cost and point towards the unique value that you can offer them, okay? And that's actually pretty easy to do. Now, I'm going to use one of my clients as an example here. He runs what used to be considered a design agency, but this is going to work for any service business, any business at all, really. So here's how we changed the conversation when we worked with him. So the question was being presented as, is there any movement on price? But the real problem was, you're too expensive, okay? That's what the prospects were really saying. So the first thing is, you do not want to argue with anyone when they say something like that, because you're just going to make them dig in, okay? It's human nature. If you say you're too expensive, and I say, well, no, actually not really, then your immediate response, whether verbal or just subconscious or even conscious, your immediate response is going to be, yes, you are, right? Because you'd made that decision, you had challenged me on it, and instead of addressing it, I've just challenged it back, okay? So if you get someone to dig in to that yes, you are point, you're basically stuck with it. Once you get someone to dig in, that's their opinion. It's human nature. We are programmed to maintain consistency with what we think inside, right? Otherwise, we're a complete scatterbrain. So instead, what you want to do is you want to use your price as a brand positioning tool, and you want to actually embrace it as a positive brand attribute instead of a negative one. So in this case, my client responds like this. When they say, is there any movement on the price, or you're too expensive, he'll say, you're right, we're definitely more expensive than a design agency, but it's a flawed comparison. Design agencies are great at making layouts and color palettes and font pairings and all that sort of stuff. I know, we used to be one. Because all of his competition are designers, right? He used to be considered a design agency. And right up until this point, he's been known, up until the point where he's repositioned into a brand strategy consultancy, he's been known as a design agency. And so when people compare him, they're comparing him with other design agencies, right? So he goes through everything that I've just said, and then he goes on to say, but nobody ever got any new business just from design. We're different. We help you achieve growth by helping you speak the right language to the right people so that you can understand your clients' real motivations and then move them to action. We're much more interested in your business results than your appreciation for our design chops. So what he's done there is he's completely agreed with them, and then he showed them why their reasoning is flawed when they apply it to his company, right? He's not saying you're wrong. He's saying, yes, I agree. Here's why that doesn't apply. Okay, it's a very different approach. We're also throwing all the competition under the bus, not just by saying what they do won't do anything for you, but also when we say we used to be one. Okay, so we're planting the seed. We're letting the client think that design agencies are the old way and that they're stuck in the past, and that all these sort of emotions of I don't want to be stuck with the old way. I don't want to. I'm a forward thinker. I want to do things the way things are done now. We're planting all those emotions just with that simple comment of, I know we used to be one. Now, just to be very clear, you can't just make this stuff up, right? This isn't free license to say what you want. This is based on your real unique value. And finally, I know this is a little bit meta. But this particular client has taken our programs at the Brand Sprint Academy, which means not only did he build his brand for his company, he also learned our brand strategy processes so he could increase his value to his clients by delivering brand strategy to them, right? So that's why when he says what he does, he says it's about results instead of design. So yours might be different depending on what your unique value is, right? But it's the same concept. Again, you just have to understand what your real value is. Meaning what the client gets from working with you, and also who you're being compared with, so that you can then sort of insert those two elements into this exact same framework. Like you can copy out that exact script and then just insert your own unique differentiation there, and that will help you eliminate that you're too expensive argument before it ever gets past the first comment. Remembering, of course, you're only going to speak to people who already know what you charge, they know what you do, and they fit your ideal client criteria, okay? So that's it for this video. I hope that helps for any of you who are trying to get past that too expensive roadblock when you're trying to level up your brand and get more valuable clients. I do know how frustrating that can be. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye for now. This is the Brand Sprint Show with Bruce White, the podcast for thinkers, writers, and researchers to get the best practical advice on how to consult, how to sell, and how to deliver brand and strategy sprints right across your clients' business life cycles, because you can always add more value.